Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday. We're here at the Legacy Project with me, Albert Chavez, and my father, Albert Chavez Jr. as well. And today we have a very special guest, Miss Megan. And if you're new here to the Legacy Project, we've got a really special day today just for you guys. Here at the Legacy Project, we build a strengthening connection between father and son, and we've just decided to do this within the last 2 months or so. Really just wanting to dive in and connect more between father and son and how we can help change and transform the nuclear family. So we've just had a great family creation and community, and we just want to share this with you guys. And feel free to comment throughout the entire show because we want to make this as interactive as possible and just create a great environment for you to feel and learn how to just be more open with your lives. So with that, I'll pass it over to you, Dad, and to introduce our special guest today.
Awesome. Well, yes, I'm really excited. I met Megan a couple of years ago. I think 2.5 years ago. We met through a coaching program called Elementum. And why I'm pimping that out is because whatever journey you're on, it's your journey. And that journey, you're going to come across a lot of people who are there for a reason. There's a path. You go through this process, not knowing where it's going to go or who you're going to meet. But if you follow your passion as far as you go, with no limitations, with no expectations, as far as you can take it, you're going to run into some magnificent people. And Megan's one of those. And so when I reached out to her, one of the main reasons why, I'll introduce her in a minute, but one of the reasons why is she has a really beautiful heart. Like, she's just a beautiful woman. She has a beautiful heart. But I was curious with her story and why she was coaching and what she was doing. And so when Albert and I start talking about it, I go, I have the perfect girl. Like, she's got some stuff she's going through. She's a relationship coach. She does all these things. And what a great idea for us to bring her on so she can give some perspective about her life, what she's working through, and maybe someone can relate. So with that being said, Megan Thoma, she's a master coach, helping people switch the focus from finding someone else to finding themselves. Megan helps people heal from their toxic relationships so they can have experienced great relationships with themselves. So Megan, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with both of you. This is very, very cool. Very cool to be here with both of you guys. Yeah.
So I know as a young man, in our little brief interaction that we had this past week, I was super curious just about what you do and like how you got into relationship coaching. I know you gave a little bit of backstory before, but can you just inform everyone, like, what was the reason that you decided to really just get into this line of work, and how have you learned about yourself in this process?
I'm like, how much time do we have again?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will say I came from a family that was very open about growth, healing, personal development. You know, we were always welcome to talk about our feelings, and I went to, therapy growing up and all that. But it wasn't until I experienced my second toxic relationship and I got engaged, called off that engagement. And it just wrecked me. It turned my whole world upside down. And that's when I hired my first coach. And when I hired my first coach, everything changed. Like, all the years of therapy, all the, workshops I'd been to and stuff that I tried, nothing lasted and impacted me like coaching did. So when I got into that and learned so much more about myself, I realized that this was a profession that I didn't realize existed. I'm like, I could be a coach? What? And I fell in love with it. And that's when I started the whole certification journey. I did 2 different certifications, and that's what got me into it. It's my own life story, my broken engagement. Yeah.
Well, on that note, Albert had asked, what'd you learn about yourself? I want to go a little deeper than that. Like,
Yeah.
what have you gained the most from going to those dark places that I didn't know women had, by the way? I thought men just had them. So what did you learn about yourself, about those dark places? And share some of those things you had to go through to get where you're at today.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, definitely. It's not just men. We've all got them. So, I grew up with two very loving parents. They're still together today, and we have a beautiful relationship now. Especially my dad and I are so much closer now than we were growing up. But when I was little, he was a bit inconsistent. Like I just never knew really where I stood. Some days he'd be really warm and affectionate and loving, and other days he was like, I'm busy, or I'm watching TV, or I'm on the computer. And, I teach often, because this is my experience, that when we have an inconsistent parent, we're excellent at falling in love with potential. Because all we have to hold on to as little girls is maybe someday, maybe this day daddy will pay attention to me. Maybe this day he'll want to play with me and spend time with me. And maybe this day. And so we're excellent in falling in love with hope and potential. And that's what I would do a lot. And the research shows this, that in so many ways, we're all walking around trying to date and find love in a romantic partner that we didn't get from a parent growing up. We're always looking to fulfill and heal something that we didn't get as children. So that's what I did. And then my mother, who is such an incredible woman, and based on her journey and what she went through growing up, I couldn't have asked for a better mother. And she did a lot of things for me. She took care of a lot of things for me. And in so many ways, I lacked a lot of resiliency and figuring stuff out for myself. And boy, when I went through my toxic relationship, I had to figure that out for myself, because there were times later in the relationship, especially when I would take him back, so many times that friends didn't want to hear about it. They didn't want to talk to me. And that was really hard. And yet I had to learn that lesson of resiliency and self-trust, because I was also the woman that was going to everyone else outside of herself to find the answers. Like, what does this text mean? What do you think about this? And he said this now. What do I do now? What do I do? I would call psychics. I would call, friends that would listen to me, family members. The last place I checked was right here. And now that's the first place I go. Because I believe, my faith and belief is that God speaks to me through my intuition. So that is what I look to first and foremost now. So does that answer your question of what I learned? I'll give you an idea.
It seems like you're not the only person to doubt yourself and go to a million different directions, because now we have the internet. So especially my generation, go to TikTok, they go to their therapist, they go to whoever to find out all these different answers, and you hear a million different things. Combine that with a lot of jargon that's going out there too. I've heard you mention a couple times now about toxicity in relationships. So I'm curious about that a little bit more, where just I guess the language is interesting when you hear the word toxicity, especially because it can be phrased towards the other side, towards masculinity primarily. And so when you relate that word to your practice and then your lifestyle now, can you describe what that means to you, and how did you look in the mirror of toxicity and make that translate into your relationships to not only avoid it, but also confront it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I know that there's the buzzword of toxic masculinity. Let me tell you, toxic is not gender specific. And Albert's I agree. It's not. But here's the thing I will say, and I will have people that probably disagree with me. I don't like to label any one person as toxic. You are a toxic person. And there are abusers out there and there are victims out there. So I'm not taking away from that. But when I'm really talking about a toxic relationship, I'm talking about two people. I'm talking about two people that come together, and the dynamic and the friction, it's their wounds are like gas and fire. And it's this mutually destructive behavior that's occurring inside the relationship. And I knew that I was in one because there was a lot of gaslighting. There was a lot of manipulation. I was really doubting myself. I was questioning, did I say that, or did I do that? He's telling me I did this thing. And somewhere I know that's not true, but I would I would totally disregard my inner knowing and all the alarm bells that were going off in my body saying like, this is not right. Because I was so infatuated and I was so laser focused on the dream and the fantasy of like, I'm getting married. Like I don't care. I'm laser focused on this dream outcome that I've been waiting for my whole life. So what if he drinks all the time? So what if he manipulates me? So what if he calls me horrible names? So what if he tells me what I can and can't wear? I'll figure it out. So I knew I was headed down a dark, dark path. When I wasn't even recognizing myself anymore. And toxic relationships, that toxicity, it also makes us dim our light. Like I felt like I was this watered down version of myself going through life. Because, he'd be like, you laugh too loud, or you're being too loud, or you're being too much. So I would just tone myself down. We were just talking on the call earlier briefly, like about I'm a hip hop dance teacher. And there were times in the relationship, he didn't even want me to dance. Like, you can't dance at a wedding unless I'm there with you. So it's just this controlling, manipulative, icky behavior. But, my part in that was I would sweep things under the rug because I didn't want to rock the boat. I wanted to keep the peace. I was fearful of his reaction. So I would just omit things. I would just not tell him things. And an omission is still betrayal. Like I wasn't lying. Like he wouldn't ask a question, I lied about it, but I was still omitting things. I was keeping the truth from him. And then eventually I would erupt and explode. So it was a really icky, yucky, hard roller coaster ride dynamic. Yeah.
Well, how are you dealing with it today?
Great question. I am so good. I am so, so good. And I think it was 2021. I think it was February 2021 or 22. It was 22. I always think it's way further back than it was. It was 22. When December, right before that, February, December, I remember telling my parents and my sister, my family at Christmas, we were sitting around the table and I was like, y'all, I finally feel like I've healed this. Like I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm not going to get in another toxic relationship. And if some narcissist, if somebody comes in with manipulative tactics or something, I'm going to close the door. I'm going to slam that door shut. And that's when I got this download for this program. And what I teach is called Intoxic Dating. It's just a program that literally fell into my lap from the heavens above. So yeah, I am so good with that. Does that mean that there aren't like relationship struggles and I'm still figuring stuff out in the relationship department? No. But the toxic aspect, I'm good. I couldn't do what I do now if I wasn't good with that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that because I want to make sure everybody is clear on here in this channel. Like, we're not trying to save you. Like, you have to. A lot of people look at Albert and I and they're like, this is what we've created, right? Like, oh my God, you guys are doing great. Oh, look at me, you're doing great. Oh, look at you, you're doing great. But you have to understand what we did to get here is a process.
Woo, is it ever?
And that process, 99% of the people won't go through that process because it takes confronting so many inner soul connections within yourself that if you don't know how to not navigate, but just confront, I'll call it the demon, the shadow, whatever, which is yourself, all you're going to do is monkey branch to the next relationship and take that toxicity, which we all are, we have the traits, that toxicity into the next person because you're failing as an individual to put the mirror on yourself. I think that's really important that we address that because, we could sit here and say, we're good, we're fine. And I have a little different response about healing. Like, I don't think we ever heal. I think we come to grips with being more aware to where when things come up, we're able to handle it. We have coping mechanisms, but there are times where I still get triggered with stupid things. And that's my indication that I'm still wounded in a specific area. And mine's women. Mine has been women. I've been very honest with that. My mom left me at really a young age, and my entire life up until I think recently, I've been really chasing that person who has left or wants to leave because subconsciously I didn't find value within myself. And so I've had to really learn how to cut that umbilical cord, that anxiousness that I had about me. And it's a process that I still go to this day. And I'm 52 fucking years old, and it never goes away. And that's the message I want to keep, that whatever you're working through, folks, it never goes away. It just comes packaged differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say that even though I know I have so much self-trust in myself to not stay in a toxic relationship, because the problem isn't getting into a toxic relationship, the problem is staying in a toxic relationship. However, one of the biggest wounds from that relationship was a massive betrayal. And I was sharing this in my women's group, my Becoming the One private community last week or whenever it was when I was teaching. And I shared very openly, I'm not rid of the fear of like someone cheating on me. That is not gone. I'd love to say, I have no fear. That is healed. It's done. I'm good. Nope. That's still there. That is a trigger for me that I continuously have to look at and work through and love on. So yeah, I agree with you.
We'll follow up. So what would you recommend, or maybe what would you say has helped you the most with getting through that betrayal, trust that you still struggle with, but it maybe is a coping mechanism that you might be able to help someone? Because I know I struggle with it at times, but what is your way of dealing with that?
Well, one is truly what I keep saying and coming back to, and this has been 4 years in the making. I'd love to say it's a 3-step process and you can learn it in a weekend. It's not. It has been a 4-year process of me learning to trust myself. Yeah. So there is something that is so powerful in that. When I know I can trust myself and I've got my own back and I can trust my intuition. My intuition can sniff out pretty much anything. Like I trust that if my partner, let's say in the future, is headed towards a betrayal or cheat, like I know in my body those warning signs. Is there a world that exists that someone could completely blindside me? Of course. Like I'm not God. I don't have like superpowers, but I mean, I'm really good at knowing myself. And I know like when my body has certain signals and I'm pretty on point with stuff. So I have to keep coming back to that truth that A, I can trust myself. B, if someone does cheat on me, then it's really easy to say this in the moment because it hasn't happened. But in like at the bottom of it, if someone cheats on me and I'm at a point where I can't forgive that or heal from that, then okay, then that person was not meant for me. And it happened in a really painful way, but it's like, okay, God, Spirit, the universe did me some favor and got that person out of my life if I can't deal with that. I was having a conversation with one of my best friends the other day, and we both have that fear of cheating. And she's been with her husband now for almost 10 years, if not over 10 years, probably in trouble for not knowing that specifically, being in her wedding. But I asked her, I was like, is that still a fear of yours? And she was like, no. I said, okay, so if it happened, could you get over it? She said, yeah. It's like, tell me more. So it's like, I'm speaking in the now because of what I've been through. But I don't know how I'll feel eventually. I will say it's still a fear. However, I have in the 4 years, learned how to trust myself and also healed a lot of my relationship to the masculine, to men specifically in general. That's been a huge part of this.
How do you there's 2 questions that are big. Like how do you interact with your clients and I guess with your own story of this idea of cheating, right, with males? Because that's not a unique thing to you, right? It happens to a lot of women, especially when their relationship with their fathers or boyfriends are not always the healthiest, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
How do you learn to not get trapped in the story of all men will cheat, all men are toxic, all men are this, And again, it happens for men too. Men do this as well, but for strictly with your story, how do you interact with your clients and yourself to not get trapped in that story so that when you do go out into the wild of life, you can
Yeah.
then be yourself?
Yeah, it's such a great question. Well, one, I don't bypass it. I don't like just skip over the pain of that betrayal. It's really important. So, and for myself as well, I can so easily tap into my grief and my sadness, but it was really hard for me to connect to my own anger. And our anger is so directly correlated to our boundaries. So with being disconnected from my anger, I had really weak boundaries. And so I create a space and exercises for women to really emote their healthy anger in a healthy way. So that they can release a lot of the pain and the energy and the hurt that was caused by that betrayal. So that's one. The next thing I would do is have them, this is funny, but I have them make a list of all the good men that they actually do have in their lives. And if they can't come up with anyone, I'm like, okay, then write down like even a celebrity couple that you idolize, like a married couple that you see. And I know you don't know them, but like collect some evidence that good men exist. And how can you see the king in every man or the good in every man every day? So it's called like good man goggles. I have them go out into the world. And when they're out in the world at the grocery store, like watching a man open a door for a woman or say good morning, or you look so lovely, or, help a lady across the street, whatever it is, it's like I want them to live and walk through life as if good men exist, because what you look for, you will find. So that's the smaller steps of how we start to heal that process and not make it some wide generalization, like all men suck, all men are liars, all men are cheaters. Great. Well, you'll stay single the rest of your life that way. It's so great how they're like, I just want a good man. I want a man to love me and adore me and see me and, just choose me, but they're all liars. It's like, oh, cool. So how's that going to work? Right? But we break down their paradigm after we do some healing from any betrayal that occurred. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. It's fascinating too, because now everyone's going towards, it's funny, I'm kind of making fun of myself in this. People are allegedly going away from dating apps and going towards run clubs to kind of, I'm in one, that's why I'm making fun of myself, to go and like be more organic about this stuff, right? Because everyone realizes that all these options are just a swipe away, whether it be Instagram, Tinder, all that jazz. And so it's just interesting where we have all these options, we have all this potential and this ideas, but then we don't know how to utilize it. And so you've said all this potential is going over and over again. Like, how do you make sure that you can stay focused on what you're wanting? And so you're actually bringing light to and making it very simplified of how women and men also can get a lot of information in that too, to just keep it simple and just visually see it, because if we don't see it on a day-to-day basis, then you're going to get trapped in what you see on social media. You're going to get trapped in what you perceive and then never actually live that on your own.
Yeah, totally.
So I have a elephant in the room question here. So what happens specifically, I'm talking about women, when women don't address that wounding of betrayal? What are some symptoms that they have when they go into relationships?
So the first answer to that question is you will keep dating the same man with a different face. You will keep getting the same lesson over.
So I'm gonna ask it differently.
Okay.
I'm not putting on the man.
Okay.
What does a woman typically go through and how she responds and reacts to the trauma of that betrayal going into relationships?
Yeah. So let's say we'll use the example of like, let's say the girl gets cheated on from a previous relationship and then she starts dating again and she enters into a new relationship with a new man. That's what you're asking, right? Like how, okay. So she's going to carry the same pain, the same wounding, the same insecurities that were not healed and looked at, carry all that baggage into the next relationship. So it's like, no matter what that man does, no matter how honest he is or forthcoming he is, she's always going to doubt him because she hasn't healed the wounding from the prior relationship. So
like? What does that doubt feel like? What is a woman characteristic? Because I hear your words, right? But what is a woman? I'll guide you a little bit. So are there anxious or avoidant attachments that people have going into relationships from that if they haven't healed that part of it?
I think it could go either way. Like people with an anxious attachment can get cheated on and bring on that anxious attachment style, or the avoidant. However your style or attachment style wants to show up, when you're triggered, is going to show up in the next relationship. But I look at it more, we work with clients' attachment styles, but I look at it more as like, what is your specific pattern that shows up? And it's different for everybody. Like mine was like, I have this crazy urge to like look through men's phones. Like I just want to look through your phone. I just want to look and see.
Okay, what else?
Well, there was some of that, but then also when I would find things, I'm like, I never want to look again. I'm like, I don't want to know. So
Maybe not just you, like what are other clients that you've seen? What are some of the characteristics they do? Because I'm curious. Like I never thought of it. Is there things that way? Do they withdraw? Do they start fights? Do they self-sabotage? What are some things that they do?
all of the above. Start fights, making really big deals out of small things, doubting the person over and over again, wanting them to like prove themselves. The self-sabotage shows up when things are going really well. And I think oh yeah. Isn't it like Brene Brown that says like the hardest emotion to stay in is joy? And so people hit their upper limits. It's like, oh, things are too good. Let me find the problem. That's what self-sabotage is. I think it's like our nervous systems, we don't have the capacity to hold all the good because we're so used to like the other shoe dropping and the bottom falling out. So it's almost like they're waiting there. They're sitting there just waiting for something bad to happen. They never can trust that this can be good. This can be healthy. It's like, oh, well, things are going good. Something's not right. I don't trust this. What is it? And start nagging and jabbing and trying to dig and figure out what that is. Which, if you're doing that with like a healthy masculine partner, it's going to push his ass away real quick. So, yeah.
It's the internal, I would say, for lack of better words, like masculine problem or just man problem in general is you kind of said something where you're always looking for something to look forward to, looking something for wrong, and that's a human thing, right?
Yeah.
But strictly asking, just because I'm curious as a woman, do you notice that when you are asking a question, there's a sense of like a little bit of a testing, but also just wanting to just peek underneath the rug? Because you also mentioned like when you do find it, you're like, fuck, I don't really want to know more.
Yeah.
But you're also built with this curiosity. And so I've often found that when women ask these questions, partly it's to see what your reaction is and how you would hypothetically solve the issue, right? And so as a woman, what do you think when that happens? Or is it more just like, can you dive deeper into
Yes, I can.
understand that?
Have either of you read David Davis' book, The Way of the Superior Man?
I've read parts of it. I haven't finished it.
Oh my gosh, this is like so up this is y'all's language. You would both love it. Okay. Well, he talks about how like a woman will test you. She will always test you. And there's some truth in that. And okay, one other question. Y'all probably have not watched this, but I guarantee some of the listeners have. Did either of you watch Love is Blind this last season? Okay. There was a couple on there, Chelsea and Jimmy. And for those people that watched it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. She would beat around the bush and passive aggressively ask questions because she did not have the ability to ask a man something directly or say like, hey, can we talk about something? This is bothering me. So when women feel scared of what they will find and what is underneath that rug or what you might say because other men have come at them or they've found out something that they didn't really want to know when they've done this before, they will kind of beat around the bush and just kind of test you a little bit. One, because they're scared to actually stand confidently in their truth and say like, hey, I don't feel great about this. This is really vulnerable for me. And I feel really needy even asking you this, but I feel really uncomfortable about XYZ. Can you tell me what happened here? Can you tell me more about this? That's bravery. That's vulnerability. So instead of doing that, we just beat around the bush sometimes, hoping that we'll get an answer that is sufficient. Because women, we want to know why. That we always want to know why. Well, why did you do that? Well, why did this happen? Why? We have to have a reason and a justification for freaking everything. Hate to tell you, that's kind of how we're wired. So that's why we do that. Does that answer your question?
We're getting our own therapy session just so you know.
It's kind of like,
How
going
women
behind
think.
enemy lines a little bit,
Yeah.
it's getting an idea of like what's going on, because it's every guy goes through that, every girl goes through that too. And it's interesting because I don't know, you always want to know why, but then on the flip side, I've noticed too that like if we ask a certain question with women, it's can sometimes be received illfully. And I don't know if that's because I do my best to put a little bit of cushion, and at the same time I want an answer that's direct. And so learning how to guide that as well too is because obviously our brains are wired a little bit differently.
Yeah.
As like as a man asking like a significant other in the past, I want to know what's really going on underneath the hood with you guys, because I know that it can just like flip a switch sometimes.
Yeah.
And also understand like, okay, if we want to understand why, how come it's not being received the same way too?
Great. The mystery of the feminine. I will tell you another secret about us. This is kind of what Albert was speaking to as well, about like how will kind of the wounded feminine show up when she hasn't like looked at some of her stuff that's happened in the past with betrayals with men. So underneath every frustration, every concern, every argument is an unmet need, right? There's always an unmet need. But for most women, the reason we want to know why you did this, or why you didn't call me, or why you flirted with my friend, like whatever it is, like the why, underneath every why, we think three things. It's either because you don't love us, you don't care, or you don't respect us. That is the lens by which we are filtering everything through when we're wounded. Like he didn't take out the trash because he doesn't care. He didn't call me back because he doesn't love me. He doesn't, follow through on our date because he doesn't respect me. We don't give men the benefit of the doubt and actually ask ourselves, I'm going to assume there's a good reason for everything he does. I'm going to assume. And instead of going in with that open heart curiosity, we're like, well, you don't love us, you don't respect us, and you don't care. I try to help women heal some of that shit so that they can go to their man and come in with more open-hearted, vulnerable curiosity and assuming, I'm going to just play the game of assuming that everything you do is for a good reason, and I'm open to hearing what that is. So.
Great answer, because I think a lot of times, I'll speak for myself, what I've experienced is you all want us to read your minds.
Oh yeah, totally. Like you're a psychic mind reader, right?
We're not a mind reader. And so that's where the breakdown comes in, is there's assumptions that happen.
Mm-hmm.
You should know this, you know that. And I think this is where the communication comes from. I think this is where the wounding comes from, where whatever you're used to in the past, the more, men you've been with, or your experience with your father or mother, that all comes into play. And that's why I emphasize what happens to those that don't really understand that. So for me, I would tell you, like, I was so programmed
Mm-hmm.
to get upset if see this cup and it wasn't put away. That was a sign of disrespect.
Yeah.
I would get hurt.
Yeah.
I would get in trouble. So I developed this for years, like this, call it misogyny, or what the fuck you want to call it, but it was like, this, you're disrespecting me. No, this was this little boy who got hurt, got his ass kicked, and he's just projecting it on everybody else. I live by myself for 4 years now. I'm like, I can put my own damn cup away. I'll put my cup away. So these little programs that we have, I think it's really important that we understand that your belief systems, a lot of you aren't yours. They were given to you, and you reinforce them with your own experiences. Well, that must have happened, so that must happen. And then you add layers of it, of then your personal experiences with men or women. And then that adds a layer. So until I actually sat with Stefanos, I remember vividly, it was March. I remember one phone call. I couldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
I hadn't cried in about 10, actually, when I got divorced from Albert's mom, there was some crying, but I was just so hardened. I couldn't stop crying. I was on the phone for an hour and a half and literally cried.
Floodgates finally opened.
I remember vividly, he didn't ask why. He just like, brother,
Yeah. Let it out.
let it out. And what it was this feeling of like, what the fuck am I doing all these years? Why do you believe? And I was just really finally for the first time getting so deep at a lot of these belief systems I had weren't mine. Why do I believe them? And so I'm saying that because a lot of you out there are watching this right now, wherever you're at, whatever you're going through, you have to take responsibility for yourself as an adult. All y'all are adults here. You have to take responsibility as an adult to fix your shit. I'm sorry that happened to you in your past. I'm sorry that you got your ass kicked. I'm sorry you got cheated on. All that stuff happened. But it's your responsibility as a human being, as a man or woman, to take that and to fix your shit and stop fucking pointing at everybody else. Because all you're doing, we're creating more generations of people hurting people, and it's bullshit. And it's bullshit. And I'm on a soapbox, but I'm so irritated with people who are neglecting the number one person that they need to help, and that's themselves. That's why I really love you coming on here, Megan, because there's so much like gold that you've given tonight, just from a woman's perspective that I actually learned from it. So anyways, I want to diatribe, but do you have any questions for Albert and I that you want to ask, you've been dying to ask about?
Oh man. Yeah. I want to ask the question that I had kind of prefaced when we first met, because I feel like this is such a thing for women that we're all so curious about. So I want to know from both of you, what does it take for you to commit to a woman or even to fall in love? What has to happen? Is it they have sex with you the first night? Is that it? Because I don't think that's it.
That's the last thing you want to do.
Thank
the
you,
last
ladies.
thing.
Are you listening? Okay, great.
Yeah, that's the last thing.
Okay.
Good.
Go, son? I'll go? Okay, I'll go. So I have 52 years experience on this, and I've been sexually active since I was like 13
Dating
years,
since he was 1.
13 years old. I say that on purpose because you asked me at 25, my answer would have been different.
Mhm.
You asked me at 52, being a grandfather, I've been single for a while now. As a man, what I will commit to is very simple, is bring peace to my life. Don't make it more chaotic. What that means is, you're in my life, you're complimenting me, not making it more frustrating. Really easy. Number two, I want to build something with you. Like I'm on a trajectory of speaking and writing books, and I want someone who is understand that there's going to be some discomfort in that. I know that for them, so they have to be very solid and strong to be able to support that. And number three is respect. I say this word respect with love. Like, in order to get respect, you got to give respect. I have really learned that the power that I have is to have a woman feel safe and secure with me. That's what you guys want. I've heard talk to thousands of women, safety and security.
Mhm.
If I'm giving that, it's not a tick for tat, but there should be a mutual respect of, hey, I'm going with my girlfriends, like respect, like communicate with me what you're doing and where you're going. Because if I'm going to be this protector for you and care about you and commit to you, the littlest thing I need really is just to know. Because those stories go through my head. Talking to another man, or you fucking another man, all these things, I go down that rabbit hole. So for me to commit, it's really simple. It's a really simple formula. The sex part and the intimacy part, you get that as you get more committed. Like, it comes with more pleasure. So that's just part of the formula. Because if I'm not getting it, what value do you have in my life? Like, I don't have any value. Like, I get it from anybody else, but I want that part of the package, not the package.
Yeah, so that like increases the commitment and the love. It's not the thing that sparks it. Okay, and you also said, if I may remind you, you said something like someone I can be vulnerable with, and that they would be vulnerable back with you. So is that accurate?
Yeah, I said that what that means is I mentioned that I've been taught most of my life, my son knows this, that I didn't have a voice till I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
I was told to shut the fuck up most of my life. So when I learned how to speak, it was very hard for me. So what I've learned from women is a lot, I'm generalizing here, okay, is that when I've opened up to women, they weaponize their words toward me. What that means is I'll share something vulnerable and they either tell me that I'm being a little sissy or I'm not, I should grow up, whatever. All these little words that hurt me and make me feel that I can't trust you. So vulnerability means trust to me. That I can trust that I can talk to you about something. That's super
huge. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so when you asked us the other day, it's interesting what comes up for me because for me, we took it a little bit similarly. When you said the word like commit, that means the underlying assumption for me is I'm already attracted to this woman
Correct.
and I want to like pursue more. And so for me, that was really critical, right? So for me to be vulnerable with someone with that I want to like spend more time with and like commit 100% to, there's two big things that were really important to me. The first one was honesty. For me, what was really huge and impactful for me is like being honest and for me to say what I want to say and have that person receive as much as possible of that is really crucial because I understand I can't just blurt out everything and it's I don't want to filter myself per se, but if I can't be honest with my person and say what I need to and they don't know how to take it a lot of the times, it's really difficult for me to open up because I've found that again, we had reiterated it earlier, is like if the woman can't know what you are going through, then it's not going to work out in the long run because what's going to happen, my default is to just keep it internalized because I know how to get through shit. And so I'll just continue that path. And so you just end up being a single man in a duo that is not really a duo, right? And so for me, I want to build that team together. And then the secondary, which is the reverse role, is can I be open and ask questions? Because for me, again, that it's tied with vulnerability is the umbrella term, right? For both ways is what is the questions that I can ask to learn about this person so that way I can be more vulnerable. And it becomes cyclical, right? We get to learn about each other. I get to learn about you, you get to learn about me because I get to share and you get to share. And if I can ask open-ended questions with this person, then that allows for me to be open again. And so this idea of vulnerability is the biggest part because it allows for me to be connected with that person because like you said, it doesn't really matter about sex. Like it's cool, it helps build that intimacy with someone, right? But the real vulnerability comes with the learning about that person, understand what pisses them off, what they love, what they enjoy, how you guys can build new adventures together. And so I have found that is the best way for me to be able to be open and actually commit to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I have one more question because you brought it up at the beginning of that. Just because I know women love to get inside that male mind. So you said,
purple.
I know. Uh-oh.
Honestly,
We all know what you're gonna find in there. You said, yeah, I'm asking this question under the assumption I'm already attracted to them. So what is it about a woman that makes her attractive to you?
I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, it's just like the way they look at you, the way that they like, um, the way that like they banter with you, the way that she cares. For me, that's a huge thing. Is like, do they care about wanting to be a part of your life?
Mhm.
And can you just like have those fun moments and just enjoy and just let go of things? Like that's a huge factor for me. It's just like when they like want to really be a part of your life. That's really critical, right? For me, my love languages are touch and personal time, quality time. So like when you guys can just like, it just feels effortless and everything feels like time is just, there's no factor at all. That's when I know that I'm like attracted to someone.
Time stops. Okay,
Yeah.
fabulous. Albert?
Oh, I'm on the seat, huh? Okay.
Oh, you're on the seat.
So I'm gonna be real. Like, attraction is the mainstay. Like, I have to be attracted to you, but with that attraction, um, you have to be a good kisser. I'm just saying it, right? Calling it real. I've met plenty of beautiful women who can't kiss, so sorry, ain't gonna work. But within that, because there's phases, right? Then it goes into, okay, so what do you, the commitment part? How does that work? It's then when I'm with you, how do you make me feel when I'm with you? And so for me, mine are the same as my son. Like, I think personal touch, not sexually, but just like a simple hand on my knee or simple hand on me to know that you're there for me. And then the quality time for me really has to do with when I'm not with you, do you desire me? Like, what are you doing when you're not with me? Are you thinking about me? Are you showing me like hey, taking pictures of where you're at, what you're doing? Like, those little things are important to me because they show me that you care about me. And so the attraction comes by the breadcrumbing that you do in the good way of like, you are part of my life. You do want to know what I'm doing. You're bringing that's what bringing peace to my life means. So the attraction can grow. I'll say it, if you're a 6, you can become a 10 automatically by doing these things, because it's not just about the looks. But you could be a fucking 10 and be a bitch. And I don't want nothing to do with you because you're not bringing the value that I need to feel safe, secure, and desired by you. I've dated plenty of 10s who are awful. I've dated plenty of 6s who are really good. So there's this in between. But for me, yeah, it really does on connection, right? Connection when I'm with you. I love like smells, so I'm very attracted to perfumes, and I love when a woman dresses like sexy and hot. Like, all these things are part of my mantra as a 50-year-old man, because I just love women. Like, you guys are beautiful. Like, you bring so much to me. So when I meet a good woman, those are things that attract me there.
Yeah. So notice, for all the incredible, divinely irresistible women listening right now, none of the things out of their mouths was, you need to be this height, this skin color, this weight, your hair has to look like this, your makeup has to look like this, you better not have any like imperfections. Like, that's not what y'all said. That's what all we're worried about.
We don't give a fuck how much money you make. We can give two shits how much money.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for answering.
So thank you, Megan, for taking some time out of your night. I know it's getting late. And so what I took out of this little meeting, just to quickly wrap it up, was how you use your wounding to benefit not only your work life, but also learn and discover how you can shine the most, to be the person you want to be for your friends, for your family, and then for your mate as well. I took out of this how women think, how they interact with men, how they learn, how they test men at times, but also want to do it because safety and security is really impactful. And then the last part, if I were to sum it up, was how men and women can learn to communicate with each other just by simply understanding what they really want out of this can actually help benefit from each other. And so thank you for at least coming down here and sharing more of your story, because I know a lot of people are really interested in just figuring out, like, how can we actually team up as men and women, as people, to communicate not only between male and female, but the divine masculine, feminine, and see how that relates to one another, with our story as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't said this yet. I'm teaching a free class at the end of April. It's called From the Heart, just for women, about how to live with an open heart, how to share more vulnerably with men, how to communicate. Well, get clear on your needs and then communicate your needs more powerfully and confidently with men. So that's open to anyone here listening. If you want to come to that, the link is in my bio, I think, still, or you can send me a DM. But yeah, this was awesome. I love that this father and son thing is happening. And I shared with you guys, and I'm going to say it here too, like Albert he has been a crucial part of my healing, on my journey to like heal the wounds with the masculine. You represent the healthy masculine to me, and I really appreciate you being a part of my journey and healing that. Yeah.
I don't know how to top that. I'm saying it with love, like, and I know that we've talked about that before, but for you to even say that again, my son's here, he gets to hear that from another woman. I mean, I think that's powerful, because what it means to me is this, guys. You would not like the old Albert.
You always say that.
He had a really good heart and good intention, but I'm gonna say it out loud. I was fucking broken. I was broken. I'm okay to say that. And the man that you see now literally had to go through fucking fire. Had to go through a desert. Had to go through break a leg. Had to do all these things because you all were that important to me. I got tired of hurting people. I got tired of hurting. I got tired of blaming everybody. And I got tired of me. So, yeah.
Thank you for walking through that fire. Yeah.
Thank you for seeing that.
Yeah. Well, not just for your family, it has a ripple effect. Some woman halfway across the world got impacted by you walking through that fire.
Wasn't expecting that, Megan. No, guys, again, my son and I were honored that you joined us. And everybody here, this is something that you would ask me 4 years ago. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Because of where I was at and where we were at. But I have a stance now that anything can change, but you have to be the pebble in the pond that's willing to just fucking put it all down. And my daughter was on here, Kaylee was on here, so she sees what we're doing, and my other daughter sees what we're doing, and people are seeing it. And it's not what we're trying to do, it's what we're doing. Like, we are literally making an effort to be on a call with someone like yourself, Megan, and him and I are on a call once a week, and we get to check in. We're purposefully creating the relationship that we want to have with each other, that's now having a ripple effect and everything else. Our vibration is so fucking high together. It's causing others to want to have what we have. And we're just sharing this because it's possible, but you have to fucking do the work. So, whew, this one got me. Holy shit. But no, thank you all for joining. And, if there's anything that you want us to talk about, or a guest that you know about, have them reach out to us. Megan, I'm going to post this, so be sure to put your masterclass or whatever you want in the comments or whatever. I want to make you a collaborator as well, so feel free to add anything. Contact Megan. She's phenomenal. Like, I've learned so much about you even today, just about what women think and about, the test. I knew that, but hearing another woman say that, I have never heard a woman say that other than on fucking TikTok. But like, you're telling me that for me, now it's real. So, no, I really appreciate you coming on here, and thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank you, guys.